Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Retro Warriors episode 408. As always, I'm your host, Justin Baker, and as always, I am joined by resident old bastard, Chris Saturn.
Hello.
Hi, Saturn.
Hi, Justin.
We do have housekeeping,
We do.
and it is that Guy might be back soonish, maybe.
Yes, that's very exciting.
He has informed me that he is almost moved to the point that he's able to move boxes out of the way to potentially get to the boxes that might contain his recording equipment.
Someday.
So a lot of conditional statements in that, but we'll see what occurs. But we're excited to have him back on the show. It has been many moons.
Yeah, it's been like half a year.
It's been a long time. It's been since he moved. So I think he moved in October, I think.
Okay.
But around there, last fall. So it's been, it's almost summer now.
Right?
My week.
Yes, sir.
I've been kind of digging into Record Lodoss War.
The series?
The franchise
Okay.
of Record Lodoss War. For people that don't know, Record Lodoss War, I think it was originally a manga, and then it was a series of OVAs, and now it's been like a million billion video games.
Right.
I think the most recent one was Deedlit in Wonder Labyrinth or whatever.
Yeah, which I talked about on the show when I played it.
Yes. And Record Lodoss War has always been one of those things that I've meant to check out, but one, it's an extremely long-running media franchise, so there's huge amounts of content, and it's just kind of intimidating.
Yeah.
But I've always meant to check it out because it was originally based on this guy's tabletop RPG game that he was running, and he just took the stories from that and turned it into a huge media franchise.
Yeah.
And so I finally was like, well, what I was doing is I was looking for something to watch on my CRT Raspberry Pi.
Right.
And I was like, how about some old anime? What's good? And then I ended up on
And you'd already finished Berserk, so it's time to move on to Lodoss War.
Finished Berserk, so I was like, all right, Record Lodoss War. I think the first thing I watched was Bubblegum Crisis.
Nice.
And then I was like, all right, I guess I'll try Record Lodoss War. And it's really good.
Yeah.
It's very westernized fantasy. I believe, from what I understand, I've always been under the impression that it was based on this person's D&D game. But I don't know that they were necessarily playing D&D at the time, because I've seen some accounts that say they were playing a rules-free role-playing game, and D&D, as you may or may not know, has many rules. So that's not really a description of Dungeons & Dragons,
Right.
Which is a game famous for the rules that it has. But I don't know all the details of that.
Yeah.
But it feels very D&D. Like, the whole thing is very, like, Western European fantasy feeling, which is really strange seeing as anime. It's usually it's that kind of slightly anime version of Western fantasy,
right?
The kind that you get in like Dragon Quest, where at its core it kind of is like this Western European idea of fantasy, but it's all very much through this lens of Japan,
Yeah.
And so it's interesting seeing it in kind of its more raw form, but still very much an anime.
Yeah, I had a friend back in high school who had a wall full of dubbed VHS tapes of anime, and it was like all of his dubbed tapes were like, it was almost an entire wall full of them, and it was almost all Kenshin and Lodoss War.
Yeah,
because there's just that much of it.
There's a whole lot. So yeah, I'm digging into that. It's been really good, really interesting. At least the original OVA series, anyway. I think it's 13 episodes at 40 minutes each. Go ahead.
Have you played any of the games?
So I might have, but I don't know, because I don't think they don't all say Record Lodoss War in the title.
Yeah, I could see that.
So I was trying to look. Hold on, Record Lodoss War.
Isn't it Record of Lodoss War?
Record of Lodoss War.
That's how I've always heard it.
This is how. Yeah, you're correct. It's Record of Lodoss War. Apparently, it was originally based. This is how little of it I've experienced. I've already gotten the name wrong. It does very much appear to be originally based on D&D. I don't fucking know, but there's. I was trying to look up. I looked it up before, the list of
games.
Video games. God, just everything. There's so much shit.
The Dreamcast game is
yes.
is-
Record of Lodoss War, Advent of Cardis.
yeah, it's just called Record of Lodoss War in America.
Okay, all right.
But it's a Diablo-like.
It looks like a Diablo-like.
Yeah, and it's pretty solid. I enjoyed it. It's worth checking out. It's not like amazing, but it's pretty solid.
Well, hey, at least the hardcore Record of Lodoss War fans will be angry and yelling at their podcast for the first 5 minutes of the show as I mispronounced the literal name of the fucking franchise.
You tried.
I did try.
Yeah.
They also, at least I'm watching the dub, because on my CRT, the overscan clips off a little bit of the subs sometimes.
Okay.
And also, I'm like looking at my phone and shit while I'm watching it because, it's 2023 and I have no attention span.
Yeah, I watched the dub back in the day too.
Yeah, I'm watching the dub, and they pronounce it Lodos a lot of the time. And so now I'm like, have I been saying Lodos and it's Lodos the whole time?
I've always said Lodos.
Now the dub, they say Lodos a lot of
Weird.
the time.
Maybe they're talking about their medications or low dose.
Yeah, they're like, look, we got a low dose of medications. we need to up this a little bit,
But I did enjoy the Deedlit game, but I did not know who any of the characters were. And the game very much
is an elf.
Right. But the game very much expects you to know all of the characters.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Well, I know that Deedlit's an elf because I've seen Deedlit in several episodes now.
Yeah.
And she shows up and does elf-like things like use a longsword and also magic at the same time, which probably doesn't sound shocking to you, but in the realm of D&D, what shocking powers these elves have! They can use swords and magic.
So in the game, I believe it takes place after the series and may spoil some events from the series.
Oh, okay. Well, I will avoid it until I don't know that I'm going to watch and read everything,
right.
but I at least want to do the original OVA because it's very well animated. It's really cool. But yeah, we'll see how that all ends up. It's very D&D. Even though, again, I'm not sure how much of it was originally actually based on D&D or some other game, or I have no idea. The answer is I have no fucking idea what I'm talking about, so I'm going to change subject now. I've been getting back into the Digimon.
Oh, okay.
And I think...
I saw DMC in the notes, and I was like, oh, he's been playing some Devil May Cry.
Some Devil May Cry. No, the Digimon Color came out back in February-ish.
What is the
maybe
M?
Mon...
Oh, okay. I see.
Digimon. Yeah.
Okay.
Because Digimon is a shortening of digital monster.
Right. Yeah.
So DMC for color, which is the color backlit Digimon.
That's why we abbreviate Pokemon to PM.
Yeah, that's it. And so it came out a couple months ago now. I'm trying to remember exactly when, but I got mine way late because I had to come in from Singapore. And so it came in and I didn't love it. And I've been taking a long time to warm up to the device, but I think I'm finally there. I think I'm really enjoying the Digimon Color. It is technologically a huge leap forward over all of the other Digimon because it's color and backlit and has a rechargeable battery, all these new amazing features. But it is very much programmed to be extremely close to the original 1997 Digimon, which is lacking 25 years of feature updates that all the other virtual pets have gotten. So it's taken me some time to get there, but I think I'm going to order an EEPROM programmer.
Okay.
Because God, this is so... Sometimes I go down these rabbit holes and I don't realize how deep I am until I'm there. And then other times I'm pricing EEPROM programmers and I'm going, man, this is deep. This is a deep hole. So
I was pricing EEPROM programmers to translate my own Super Nintendo games.
Well, see, there you go. So similar hole depth, which is a weird sentence. So the Digimon Color, the EEPROM, the chip is exposed. On the other Digimon, it's like under this black stuff. No one can get to it, so you can't reprogram it, you can't see the programming, etc. Since this one is exposed because the internals are different, you can dump the image on the EEPROM, reprogram it into English, and flash it back with an EEPROM programmer.
Okay.
And I'm like, I think I'm gonna do it. You know what I mean? Because it's in Japanese. It only came out in Japan. It's in Japanese. And I'm like, man, it'd be really cool if it was in English. And my other Digimon, I have hacked. You have to bust them open and solder them, and it's a whole ordeal. And so I'm like, well, how much is an EEPROM programmer? And in my head, I'm like, they're probably expensive. They're $15 fucking on Amazon Prime. They'll be here tomorrow. And so I think I'm gonna go. I think I'm gonna take it to the next level and start reprogramming EEPROMs on my Digimon. I think this is where my life is at 35. You know,
I believe you. Sometimes it feels like your life is just a never-ending stream of midlife crises.
Yeah, I could see that. You know, on the in the grand scheme, compared to a lot of midlife crises I've seen, mine are pretty affordable though. So
relatively
that's nice.
tame.
You know, at least I'm not buying Ferraris. I'm just programming my Digimon into English.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what I've been doing. Watching 80s anime, mispronouncing names, and looking at EEPROM programmers.
Nice.
What have you been doing, Saturn?
I've had so little time. But I did play around with some of the HD NES texture packs and Messen.
Oh, tell me of this.
I don't know if
idea.
you've played with this or not. So Messen is an NES emulator, obviously.
Yeah.
There is a fork of Messen that some dude has been working on that is a little more up to date than the official Messen that hasn't been updated in a little while. And even the official one supports HD texture packs, but this upgraded version offers a lot more options. In addition to like making the games look incredible, they can also replace the soundtracks. And,
wow.
Like I was playing around with a Metroid ROM hack that is also the HD texture pack, and it makes it look like Super Metroid.
Weird.
And it sounds like Super Metroid, but it plays like Metroid, and they added in the on-screen map from some of the other fan hacks.
Interesting.
So it's a really nice upgrade, but because it is still the NES game, it is not changing the game, it is not playing on anything more than an NES.
Yeah.
You still have NES limitations, so Samus's movement is still 2 frames. And so you've got these Super NES style art with Samus's 2-frame fast run, and it's
like
hilarious.
A flip book.
Oh man, it's hilarious. It's great.
That's strange.
Another really good one, there was a Mega Man HD texture pack for Mega Man 1. I think it was called Mega Man Super, and it looks incredible. It looks like somewhere between Wily Wars on Genesis and Mega Man 8 on PlayStation.
Oh, weird.
It's just a really well-made one, but it still uses the original soundtrack from the NES game. It doesn't change any of that. So you're still playing NES Mega Man, you're still hearing NES Mega Man, but you're looking at it, and it feels like a late generation Super NES game almost.
Yeah.
It's just really nice. There was some other good ones for Zelda 1 and for Ice Climber surprisingly had a really nice looking one.
Did you see one for Widget the World Watcher?
No.
Oh no.
I did not.
What am I going to play?
There was one for Shatterhand.
Oh, Shatterhand.
No, there's some good looking ones for Ninja Gaiden 1 and 2. So and there's a whole bunch of them out there. If you go looking for these HD texture packs for NES games, not all of them are great, but
that's how it goes.
Some of them are really solid. I really liked the one for Donkey Kong. It's a little janky, but it seems to mix and match some graphics from Paper Mario and Mario versus Donkey Kong on GBA.
It's so weird,
which is a weird mix, but it's still kind of neat. It's still seeing that while playing NES Donkey Kong is still just kind of neat.
It's just cool to see interesting innovation in NES emulation to begin with,
right?
Because I feel like it's one of those systems that's just kind of a foregone conclusion. Like, yeah, we can get pretty cycle accurate. Let's move on.
Yeah, and I mean, I've been playing with NES emulators for 25 years now at this point.
Yeah.
And so being able to go back and play these games again is not exciting to me anymore, but being able to play them again and have them look different, well, that's suddenly exciting, and it's got me playing these same games that I've played a billion times, but now I get to see them look a little different, and it's neat.
Yeah. Let's do the news. First up, Square Enix has released and localized its 1983 adventure game, The Portopia Serial Murder Case, as a free AI tech preview on Steam, and I have many questions about what all of this is.
So, The Portopia Serial Murder Case is a game that Yuji Horii made as a response to a contest that Enix put out for people to make games.
Okay.
And he was the winner, and he had made this game, The Portopia Serial Murder Case. It was one of the earliest visual novels in Japan back in 1983.
Where does AI tech feature in this?
We're getting there.
All right.
When they ported it to NES, it was kind of revolutionary because it was the first visual novel on NES. And they needed some way for the player to interact with it, and so they developed this whole menu system where there was little text menus, and you'd have a little cursor and select the text, and that was how they developed the whole system that eventually became Dragon Quest. So historically, this is an important game.
Right.
And Square Enix decided they would use this to test their new AI system to use natural real language to let you answer your prompts in this adventure mystery game.
Okay.
And what people have learned is Square Enix's AI tech is fucking garbage. And it
so
doesn't
the idea
recognize...
that you basically can like chat to it.
Yes, it's supposed to be like this classic adventure game that is allowing you to play at it in a chat. Only it doesn't fucking understand anything. It's useless. It's a garbage. Like, it doesn't even recognize the original prompts that the original game needed.
Yeah.
It wants you to
Square
say
Enix
things.
Didn't know you had to train the AI first. They just thought you fucking put it in there and it'll learn, you know?
That's basically what they did. Is they released this completely untrained AI to where all these prompts have one very specific answer, and if you don't phrase it that way, it doesn't recognize it. And I saw all these people complaining about it, and it's getting just review bombed on Steam. Yeah. And as I'm reading all these reviews, I'm like, this sounds exactly like every adventure game from the early 80s. This is the most accurate recreation they ever could have made of this game.
Yep. There you go. They did it. All you had to do was make it totally incomprehensible.
But it is still historically an important game, and it is exciting to see it re-released in English, and they made all new graphics for it, and it looks very pretty. Just don't expect it to work well.
Yeah, just don't play it.
Right, yeah, don't do that.
Just look at it on Steam, but don't play it.
Or if you have a Twitch streamer or somebody that you particularly enjoy, convince them to play it so that you can watch it and laugh.
So there you go. The CMA, which is the UK-based regulatory body, has denied approval of the Microsoft-Activision merger on grounds of unfair competition in the cloud gaming space.
Yes. Which is a weird hill to stand on.
It is the dumbest reason to deny this.
Yeah. Now, personally... I'm not a big fan of giant companies merging with other giant companies. So
Same, yeah.
Part of me is okay with this being blocked. However, what a dumb reason. Just
they you know, it's going to stifle competition in a market that doesn't exist, and that companies are struggling to get anyone to fucking care about.
Yeah, and what's funny is one of the biggest competitors in the cloud gaming space, NVIDIA, almost instantly came out to respond to this to say blocking this is hurting the evolution of the cloud gaming industry. And the best way for Microsoft's competitors to be able to move forward is for you to just accept this merger.
Yeah.
So it's just it continues to be a bizarre situation. We went from months and months of companies ragging on themselves to make themselves look weaker and the competition look stronger, to now, after it gets preliminarily at least blocked, you have competitors to this merger coming out and talking about how great the merger would have been if it were approved. It's the weirdest fucking thing.
It's so strange. Again, I'm with you. I don't want to see giant companies consolidating.
Yeah.
That's bad.
Right.
But also, what a dumb reason to do this for.
Yeah.
They're not worried about competition in, I don't know, the video games market.
Right.
They're worried about it in cloud gaming. That's what you're concerned about?
Well, they seem to have no concerns about the video game market. They seem to think that there wasn't any serious unfair advantage that would come from it, either because Microsoft has promised to release Call of Duty on everything, or because they see enough exclusives elsewhere that they don't see it as a major change.
Yeah.
But it's just cloud gaming is
very weird.
A market we don't want to hurt. It's too young, Justin.
It's my understanding that the UK can only control what Microsoft does in the UK. But
True.
what this could mean is that it could block Microsoft/Activision post-merger from doing business in the UK.
Right. And it could theoretically prevent not just the Xbox division, but all of Microsoft from operating in the UK. And that's obviously something they don't want.
Right. I don't think that they would give that up for $70 billion. Right. I don't think it's worth it for them.
They're definitely fighting it. It's unknown at this point how and what steps they can take to fight it, but they are certainly still fighting it, at least through July. That's when we will learn how much they want to fight this. Because if Microsoft calls off the merger before July something, they have to pay Activision like a $8 billion cancellation fee or something.
Jesus Christ.
So
you think that comes in a wheelbarrow directly to Bobby Kotick?
Yeah, basically. That's how
they deliver.
and by July, I think they have to pay it either way if it doesn't go through by then. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Shigeru Miyamoto says that the bad reviews of the Super Mario Brothers movie only helped it find its audience.
Yeah.
First of all, it's fucking weird that he commented on this at all. That's weird.
Yep.
Second of all, I agree. Bad reviews are, reviews at all, negative or positive, are often how things find their audiences. There's a lot of times where I read a negative review and someone's like, all these things in this product suck. And I'm in my head going, those are all things I like. This sounds fantastic. Also, you like shit that is garbage. So I think I would like this thing that you hate.
Right.
But weird that he would be the one talking about this.
Well,
not like the director or the actors or any. It's just Miyamoto.
Well, I assume that he had chain smoked his way into somebody else's interview and just started talking.
Hey, you talking about the Mario movie in here? Yeah, let me tell you about that fucking shit. All the shit you guys are saying only makes it better. Who is this?
You guys have any opinions on trees?
I like a good cedar. It's fucking weird. Preservation site Forest of Illusion has closed.
That's unfortunate.
They didn't really give a reason. There's some rumblings that in the community there was talk of some type of litigation or something, but at the end of the day, they're shutting it down.
Yeah,
so
that's a shame.
They
have done some good things for preservation, and they did say that they are uploading everything that they have found up to archive.org. Yeah. So things will still be available.
Yeah, but it's just a bummer to see them going out.
It is.
A graded copy of Nintendo Power #1 has sold for $108,000. What was the grade? Do we know?
95, I think.
Oh, it goes to 100 now.
Yeah, it goes to. Or it might have been a 9.5. I don't know.
Usually it goes to 10, but they do decimals.
I don't know.
So,
it was dumb, is what it was. Let me see the picture here. Give me a sec. It is a 9.8 out of 10.
That's pretty close to perfect, Saturn.
It's a CGC graded 9.8.
Well, at least it's not WATA graded. Although I guess WATA only does games, not magazines. Yeah. It's as a reminder.
And the tweet that is causing all of the news stories is from CGC Video Games. So the company that graded it is the one that is pushing this out to everyone.
So here's the thing.
Surprising no one.
About graded collectibles. One, collectibles are hot right now.
Yeah.
a lot of investors are getting into collectibles. I know I've said it for years that they're coming. I've been saying it for a while now that they're here and they're not going anywhere. Yeah. And I've also been saying for a while that any hopes anyone has of any bubbles bursting are going out the window, because the people doing this shit are the people that have a lot of money, and people that have a lot of money will do everything they can to prop up their investments. It's in their best interest. Yeah. So, all of that said, this does not mean that this is worth $108,000.
It is absolutely not worth $100,000.
It means that the next CGC 9.8 graded one is at auction. But also,
if it finds a buyer.
True. But also what we're seeing is a lot of media personalities, influencers, big name YouTubers and stuff getting into collectibles. It's a thing where all those YouTubers that you heard about that one time and someone explained who they were and you were like, that sounds fucking horrible. And it is. Yeah. They've all got millions of dollars and they're in their mid-20s. So, yeah, they're going to go do goofy shit like this.
Right.
I'm not saying that that's who bought this, but it's investors, it's media personalities. Like, please don't invest your money in copies of Nintendo Power.
No.
If you have enough money to do that, then it's play money for you. If you have enough money to buy Nintendo Power for $108,000 and you do it, it's because $108,000 is like a silly, I'm going to goof off with this amount of money, kind of amount of money to you.
Do not mortgage your house to buy Nintendo Power. That is not... I am not a financial advisor, but I'm still going to give you that advice.
That said, investors, if you could please just fuck off out of collectibles, go find something else. You know, I mean, there's got to be oil somewhere that someone hasn't found or something. Can't you go fucking do something with that? Can't you just leave us alone?
I bet there's oil on Mars. Can you guys please just all go to Mars?
Everyone get in this ship. We're gonna fire you off to Mars. Enjoy.
You don't even need to bring a spacesuit. It'll be fine. You'll be fine when you get there. You'll enjoy it. You'll have a good time.
And finally, Vampire Survivors is getting an animated TV series.
Okay.
I don't know how or why or what it's going to be about or how it's even going to relate to the video game.
Do you think they're going to have James Stephanie Sterling write the story like they
hope
for
so.
The characters? Man,
I hope so. I like their writing.
It would just be the most snarky, sarcastic television series that's ever been made.
I mean, cool, I guess. Cool.
I do love Vampire Survivors.
Me too.
But I've already seen the Vampire Survivors animated TV series, and it was called Castlevania.
Yeah,
it was very good.
My only hope is that it's fucking gonzo and weird.
Yeah, I'm okay with
like
that.
the game. Like if they just do it straight lace, like sort of Castlevania-esque anime, that sucks.
Yeah, you don't.
I want it to be some crazy gonzo shit. Give me some weird fucking stuff.
Right.
Because that game is weird as hell. So hopefully that is what occurs, but we'll see. Yeah. But that brings us to our topic at hand. This week we're doing Nintendo DS Hidden Gems.
Oh.
Which you wrote as digging under the shovelware.
Look, there's a lot of shovelware on the DS.
I'm very excited for this. We haven't done a Hidden Gems episode in a while. Well, I think we were like, oh man, that's a great format. We should do some of those, and we did like 2 and then just never did it again.
We've done like 4 or 5.
Have we?
Yeah.
Have we done that?
Yeah.
Man.
I looked it up.
Man, that's a lot. What did we do? We did PlayStation. We did...
Yeah. Game Boy.
We did Game Boy?
We did GameCube.
Oh, wow. Man, we really like Nintendo. Anyway, Nintendo DS Hidden Gems.
Yeah.
I did kind of want to put some scope on this. So no games mentioned here, and this includes the honorable mentions, is in the top 100 by sales according to VG charts.
Wow.
Even yours. I checked yours too.
Nice.
If we include the I forgot what I was saying. Listen, none of them are in the top 100 sales according to VG charts. I remember what I was going to say. If we include the honorable mentions, some of them are some of the highest rated Nintendo DS games. But none of them, the highest on the, and again, this is VG charts. Their numbers aren't perfect. Their numbers are not complete. We don't have data for a lot of these regions.
Right.
So to treat this loosely.
Also, I'm pretty sure there was about 70,000 DS games that were released. So being in the top 100 doesn't necessarily mean it's not in the top 10%.
Right. If we take out one game in this episode, which is the 109th best-selling Nintendo DS game, then we could have said it was like not anything in the top like 170.
Damn.
It's so just because some of the things that we're going to talk about in the latter half of the episode, you're going to be like, that game was fucking huge. It was not. It was not huge. It just was not.
I would like to say this is our 7th Hidden Gems episode.
Oh my God.
We did.
Man, we're so old.
NES, Super NES, PlayStation, Game Boy, GameCube, and PSP. Those are the ones that we did.
We need to do less Nintendo Hidden Gems. We've not done a TurboGrafx Hidden Gems.
We have not.
What is wrong with us? Sega Saturn's a great system for it, too. Look, we'll talk about it after the show. But my point is, everything on our lists did not top DS sales charts. Did not even come close to topping. It might have topped it in like maybe the month it came out.
Right.
But long tail sales, at least what we have reported, none of these are in there. Which blew my mind. What I originally wrote was none of these are in the top 10. And then I noticed, I was like, hey, there's none of these in the top 15 either. And I just kept scrolling. And then I hit 100. And I was like, how have I not seen any of these games? And then I hit 109 and saw the only game that I've really debated whether or not I wanted to be in this episode at all.
Yeah.
So just to put,
I do see
remind everybody
that we somehow have the same game. Your number 3 is my number 4.
Well, then we'll just cover it together. Because how excited. I don't know how I didn't notice that. My first game. Well, no, I guess we need to talk about first experiences or initial thoughts on the DS because I fucking loved the DS. I bought it when it came out. I played the shit out of all of my DSs. I still maintain that the DS Lite is the best bang for your buck handheld that you can still pick up right now for a moderate. I mean, you can get DS Lites for like $40 still.
Oh, yeah.
Amazing system. I loved the DS. I played tons of DS. It was like my main system until the 3DS came out.
Nice.
And then I switched over. So I've all of these games I played when they came out, which is a rarity for me on this show. Normally, I'm talking about stuff I played years after the fact. So this is one of the few instances where I get to say, no. I played these when they came out. And I thought some of these were huge megaton hits on the DS, and I was wrong. So yeah.
I was so I picked up the DS shortly after it came out, within the first 6 months or so, and played Mario 64 DS with the nubbins,
with the nubbin
touchscreen.
Yeah,
and then only played GBA games on it for a very long time. Until I got a DS Lite, actually. So the original DS was a complete waste of a purchase for me, is what I'm saying. And then I had the DS Lite, and I played a bit on it, but not very much. Looking back on it, I probably played less DS than any other Nintendo handheld.
Oh, wow.
Not because I didn't like it or because I didn't think it had good games, just because I was really broke during that era. I had no money to buy games, and I didn't get a flash cart until real late in the system's life, and then suddenly my life got really busy, and I couldn't play games for a while, so it's just a real rough period. So I feel like much of the system is hidden to me, and I don't know even some of the big-name games, so I feel like I kind of had to stretch to get my list from stuff that I am aware of, and I worry that some of it might be a little too commonplace for people who listen to retro video game podcasts.
Well, let's jump into it and we'll find out.
Yeah.
My first one is Monster Tale, Tale.
That sounds like it's based on a DreamWorks movie.
Yes, it does. And whenever you scrape the ROM in Emulation Station, that's the description that goes with it. It says based on such and such movie, and it's not at all. So This was developed by Dreamrift, published by Majesco, released March 22nd, 2011, only in North America.
Weird.
And Monster Tale is fan-fucking-tastic. It is a Metroidvania starring a young girl named Ellie, and she gains she's swept off to this magical land, and in the woods, and she finds a glowing bracelet that shoots little beams. So very Metroid-y. Right?
Nice.
And then she pretty quickly befriends a monster. And the monster lives on the bottom screen as you're playing the game. And the monster's name is Chomp. And Chomp can level up and gain different forms. And you can press X at any point in time, and Chomp jumps onto the screen with Ellie and helps her fight monsters. But Chomp also has a health bar, so every now and then you want to bounce Chomp back to the bottom screen to let him recover a little bit. But as you pick up items in the world that go down to Chomp's screen, like toys and snacks and stuff. So it's basically a virtual pet that you play by playing Metroid.
I see. That makes more sense.
It's shut up, Saturn. And
I was like, oh, Metroidvania. This doesn't seem like Justin's normal style.
Where's the virtual pet angle?
Yeah, right.
And it is so cool. Nice. It is it's a gorgeous game. It looks very Wonder Boy-esque, just visually, the graphics of the game. It stars a non-sexualized female protagonist, which sounds weird, but I know it's. And apparently, this is listed in the Wikipedia article. I don't know how true this is or not. They were citing a source. They were citing Nintendo Power, but they were basically saying that they received pressure to not feature a young female lead because it's this little girl. I mean, she's a kid, and so it was an issue for them getting this game published because they chose a young female lead character that it was not recommended by a lot of publishers.
Right.
And again, this is reported by the director of the game, Peter Ong, and so I don't know how true it was or wasn't, but that sounds like the games industry circa 2011 and realistically even now.
Right.
But it's such a fun game. It's great looking. It plays great. The virtual pet element thing, like, it's not really a virtual pet so much as it is just kind of a companion animal, but because you're picking up snacks and toys and stuff for him that make him stronger, it's a lot of fun. It does a lot of stuff where, like in the very first boss battle, you have Chomp and you're bouncing Chomp up to the top screen because you can't hurt the boss. So Chomp has to come up to the top screen, and it's this big two-headed dragon.
Nice.
And as Chomp gets hurt, you go, I'm going to bounce Chomp to the bottom screen. Then all of a sudden, in the last stage of the boss starts reaching its dragon head down to the second screen into Chomp's zone to like get him.
Yeah.
It's just so cool. It's so cute. It's so fun. It's a gorgeous game. If you like Metroidvanias, it's a very good one. And on top of that, it has really cool mechanics that I've legitimately not seen in any other Metroidvania. It's just, it's so much fun. And it's cute. It's cute as all get out. It's fantastic. And I'm pissed off because all the reviews for it are like B+, and it deserves so much higher than a B+. It is a great game. And last I checked, it was pretty cheap. It was 2011, so it's a late DS game. And it's so good. You have to play Monster Tale. It's fantastic. I was going to make this the last one on my list, but I wanted to make it the first one so that the more people would hear about it. But it's the game on my list that I'm most excited about. It's fantastic.
Yeah,
What's your first
one? It's a shame that that Majesco has basically left development of anything other than mobile games.
Yeah.
Because they were a great kind of like mid-tier, B-tier publisher.
Yeah, like a sub-Capcom kind of thing.
Yeah, they were great. I mean, not everything they put out was great, but they did put out a lot of really great stuff.
Right. Oh, I did want to say, they had announced a version of the game for Switch.
Oh, yeah?
And then, as far as we know, it's seemingly canceled.
Well, yeah, it's Majesco. They basically don't exist.
So, yeah. In Dream Rift, I don't know that... Dream Rift did 2 games. It was this and one of the Epic Mickey, like, spin-offs.
Oh, yeah.
I want to say it was like the 3DS one or something like that. But, yeah, so they've really kind of done nothing else. Anyway, what's your first pick?
I'm going to go with Retro Game Challenge, which feels like the most obvious one.
It's not, though. Nobody fucking played that shit when it came out.
That's a shame, because it was great.
Well, at the time, like, I mean, God, it came out in 2009?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 2009 in the US.
Nobody knew Game Center CX in 2009.
Yeah, I didn't know Game Center CX, but I saw this on the shelf and was like, I'll try this, whatever.
Yeah.
It was one of the very few DS games I bought around the time that it came out. And Yeah, it was developed by Indie Zero, who also did NES Remix on the Wii.
Yep.
And they also do the Theater Rhythm games for Square Enix.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in Japan, it was published by Namco Bandai, and over here is Xseed.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's based on Game Center CX, and you play as a friend of Game Master Arena when he was a little kid, and you just explore the Famicom library with a bunch of magazines, and it's fantastic.
It's so fun. Oh, God, it's so fun.
It's just a collection of, like, not Famicom games that, you know, are clearly in the style of a lot of games that we all know.
Right.
Like there's a recurring game that's very clearly just a Ninja Jajamaro-kun.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a little racing game that I feel like that one comes back a couple times too.
Isn't it like a Galaga clone?
Yeah. There's a little Galaga clone. And then there's a upgraded version of the Ninja game that becomes Ninja Gaiden essentially.
Yeah.
And then at the end is a little mini JRPG.
What I love about it is you'll be playing these games and then you'll go to the game store, pick up a new magazine, and you have to read the magazine in the game, and it will tell you things on how to progress in the games that you're playing that you didn't know beforehand.
Yeah.
And it's such a realistic and natural way to present that kind of interaction that used to be so common in gaming, and now it isn't. You just look it up on your phone.
Right. Or the game just tells you with a giant arrow.
And so it was such a cool experience to have that and then be like, oh, I guess I actually have to read this fucking magazine in the game.
Yeah.
And then it tells me things that are useful that I'm excited to learn.
And at one point it gives you like some cheat codes for the games that basically make you invincible, which, you know, one takes away all the challenge, but also accurately plays out how I would have played in the late 80s.
Right.
So it's just such a great little look back at that moment in time. And even though it's played with a Japanese lens, it is still very reminiscent of how I played NES games in that era.
It's very much an emulator for the
experience.
Yes. So cool. Such a cool game.
And there were sequels. There is another one on DS that has a fan translation, and then there's a third one on 3DS that I can't tell. I don't think there's a fan translation, but it also seems to be getting pretty terrible reviews.
Yeah.
So, but the first two are both a lot of fun, and the second one is translated now, so definitely give it a shot.
Yeah. My next one is The Dark Spire.
That sounds like a budget Jim Henson movie from the 80s. So you went from DreamWorks to Jim Henson.
And it's got Sting in it. He's
right.
This was developed by Success. They did Cotton Games.
Yep.
They did a whole bunch of other stuff, but the Cotton
Games. A lot
games,
of Cotton Games, too.
Yeah, lots and lots of Cotton Games.
Yeah.
It was published by Atlas. In Japan, it was also published by Success. It came out April 14th, 2009 in North America, and it is a specifically a love letter to early first-person dungeon crawling CRPGs. And
Japan does love those.
It does love those. You know, I think Wizardry can attest to that.
Yep.
And it is, one, it's visually very stylistic. It has a very cool, unique, dark art style that I love. But on top of that, it's just a really good first-person dungeon crawler that's very traditional, but also still pretty approachable because you're playing it with a controller. And I don't know how many people out there have tried to go back and play these first-person dungeon crawlers, but let me tell you, if you didn't grow up with like the Gold Box SSI games or whatever, they're not easy to experience now. They're just really tough.
I think I've only played first-person dungeon crawlers on a controller. I think I've only ever played console ports.
Like Fester's Quest?
No.
It's a first-person dungeon crawler.
I was thinking like Swords and Serpents or Eye of the Beholder or whatever.
Yeah. But yeah, it's even stuff like Ultima Underworld, which is relatively kind of more modern than a lot of the older stuff. It's still pretty dense and tedious to play today. And Darkspire is just a really good, really fun, really stylistic, enjoyable dungeon crawler that is also very funny. Like, it's real dark, but there's a lot of funny, goofy shit in it. Just the characters in it, the little bits of story that you have here and there are legitimately pretty fun and tongue-in-cheek. It also lets you like switch to a retro graphics mode where it's all fucking wireframe.
Nice.
And so it's just cool. It's you can tell it was made by people that really, really loved these old CRPGs. This game did get crazy expensive. And I remember...
Well, it's Atlas, so that happens sometimes.
So it's like, it's expensive. I bought it because I had just bought my DS Lite, I guess, or my second DS Lite. I don't remember. Or maybe I had sold my DS Lite and then I was on my PSP kick and then I went back and bought another DS Lite. Either way, I just picked up a DS Lite and I was too broke to afford any games. So I just bought a game that was $2.99 and it was the Darkspire because it was $2.99. And it was fucking great. It's so good. It's very good. And I cannot... If you are like me and you wish you liked these old first-person dungeon crawlers, but you don't have the patience for them, play the Darkspire because it's a blast and it still really does hit that same experience of still being this really deadly, really dark, really dense dungeon crawler. Super duper fun game. What's your next one?
So I think I've talked about this one on the show before. It's Nanashi no Game, which translates to The Nameless Game. And it is Japan only, unfortunately, but there's a good fan translation for the game and its sequel. It's developed by Epyx, released by Square Enix. It's a horror game that plays in the first person. And it's basically the plot of The Ring, but instead of a VHS tape, it's a Nintendo DS game. And so you have a in-game menu that looks kind of like the DS's system menu from before you boot a game.
Yeah.
And somebody has sent you a game via wireless play. And when you load it up, it looks like an 8-bit Dragon Quest game.
Weird.
But it's haunted.
I like that you're like, man, I don't know how my stuff's not too mainstream for this hidden gems list. Anyway, here's my Japan-only horror game that's like The Ring if it was Dragon Quest.
Look,
on NES.
I've heard so many stories about this game too. So this is like, I don't know a ton of the DS library, but I know this one.
Yeah.
But no, it's the fan translation is really good, by the way. So it's worth checking out the translation if you like horror. If you do not like horror, do not play this game because it's actually very scary.
Yeah.
But
okay,
it is
good. I will not.
you should not. This is not a Justin friendly game.
Oh no.
But I do like that the game console in the game isn't called a DS. It's called a TS or a touchscreen. And so you constantly get the little chime that sounds a lot like the DS chime, but it's your TS in the game, and you have to check your in-game TS, and it just replaces the in-game screen with the little fake DS menu. But when you're not when you're playing the fake game in the game, it looks like an 8-bit Dragon Quest game. And then when you exit it, it looks like realistic style 3D graphics. And it's really good graphics for the DS too. I am personally impressed with how it looks.
This is the second game on your list in a row that's a game in a game.
Yeah, that's true. I mostly just wanted games that had 8-bit games in them. That's what I'm looking for in the DS.
Yeah.
But no, it's great. It's a fun little game if you like horror. If you do not like horror, you should not play it. There was the sequel, which is called Nanashi no Game: Me. That name makes no sense to me, but whatever. It's Japan,
right?
And then there's also some DSiWare spinoffs and an iOS game, but I don't really care about any of that. I just want the ones that are on DS.
Yeah.
Also, the game takes place in 2022, and I'm upset because no one sent me any cursed Nintendo DS games in 2022. I feel like it lied to me.
Yeah.
We passed all of 2022, and I did not get haunted by a video game.
Maybe you've had it the whole time. You just haven't played it. It's just on the shelf still.
All right, I haven't powered up my DS in a while. I can do
there
that.
You go. I'm changing my third one.
Yeah.
Since we had picked the same game, I'm bumping up one of my honorable mentions, and the honorable mention I'm bumping up is much like you picking two of the same type of game in a row with the game in a game. It's another first-person dungeon crawler.
Nice.
And it is Orcs and Elves.
Oh, nice.
Which was developed by id Software.
Nice.
And it runs on the Doom RPG engine. And for people that didn't play Doom RPG, it was fucking awesome.
And it was a mobile phone game, I believe.
It was a fucking feature phone, first-person Doom dungeon crawler.
Yeah.
Styled after classic first-person dungeon crawlers.
Yeah.
And so they just took that and just said, hey, what if it was that but fantasy? And it's just Doom RPG again, but fantasy.
Look, they already did What If Doom but fantasy, and it was called Heretic.
Yeah, this is basically Heretic the RPG.
Nice.
And it's really fun. You have a fucking magic wand that talks to you, and it's like your Navi-style companion, and it's very annoying. But it's just a really fun, casual, kind of goofy, Doom-looking, Heretic-looking first-person dungeon crawler. It was published by EA Mobile. Because it originally came out on mobile, and then obviously the DS port was published by regular EA.
That makes sense.
But here's a fun factoid: it's id's first original IP since Quake was Orcs and Elves.
And where is our sequel, Microsoft?
I don't know. And it's pretty super generic.
Yeah.
But it's just really fun and super cash. Like if Darkspire is like a little too intimidating because it hews too closely to these classic games, Orcs and Elves is like, yeah, but what if it was just like super cash?
Nice.
It's real fun. It's also a pretty goofy game, mostly because you have a floating wand talking to you for half of it, like the worst version of Clippy. But it's a good game. I like.
So it
this
doesn't
one a
take
lot.
itself too seriously.
No, it's very. Yeah. It does not take itself too seriously. It's just a fun, solid, silly game that I also got for I think like $2 or $3 on my DS, and it's just fun. It's just fun. It's casual. I really like it a lot. If you just kind of want to have that RPG experience, but you don't want to have to think too hard about anything, it's just a goofy, good time. I like it a lot. Yeah. What's your next one?
Cookie and Cream.
Oh, this is the bunny game.
This is the bunny game. So this is a remake of a PS2 game.
Yes,
from Software. So this
makers
is the
of Dark Souls
of DS games.
And what's the mech game they do?
Armored Core.
Armored Core. Yeah, didn't they also? They also did Metal Wolf Chaos.
I think so.
Yep. The company that makes hardcore mech games and Dark Souls. Their bunny game.
Yeah, there's a few FromSoft games that I really enjoy, and none of them have Dark Souls in the name. They're all these weird, forgotten games like Otogi and Cookies and Cream.
God, Otogi.
Yeah.
No one has talked about Otogi in years.
Otogi is playable on Xbox Series X now. I'm very excited about it. I was able to put my disc in and play Otogi the other day and remember how hard it is and that I can't play it. Yeah. Anyway. Also Murakumo, that was another fun one that FromSoft. Anyway, Cookies and Cream. It's the bunny game. So you control two bunnies, and they work together to solve puzzles. And I originally played this on PS2 because it was originally on PS2, and it would probably be on my PS2 hidden gems list too. But we did DS first, so here it is, and which is good because I have a lot more games I could have chosen for PS2. And on PS2, you use the two analog sticks to control your two bunnies. Simultaneously. And on the PS2 you kind of had split screen view so that you saw one bunny on one side and one bunny on the other side. But on the DS there's two screens. So it doesn't have to be split screen. They each get their own screen. And you can do multiplayer by squeezing in and each of you holding half of a DS. I don't recommend doing that. It's not fun. You don't want to do that. But
that's like those old games that are like multiplayer PC game where you each get half the keyboard.
Oh man, did you ever play You Don't Know Jack multiplayer on PC where it's 3-player and to buzz in you press either Q, B, or P. So you're getting intimate.
Yeah.
Anyway, but no, it's just kind of a fun little puzzly platformy game. And you just control your two bunnies, and the one bunny has to like hit a button so that the other bunny can go on. And it's adorable, and I love it. It's just a fun little game for either DS or PS2. Really play it on either, but we're talking about DS today, so play the DS version because it's actually better.
My next one is Aliens Infestation.
Okay. This based on the movie?
This is, it's the Aliens franchise, yes.
Okay, yeah.
Yes. So Aliens
Unlike
Infestation...
the others that just sounded like they were based on a movie.
Right. Aliens Infestation is a way-forward and Gearbox-developed Aliens Metroidvania that was published by Sega. And it is awesome. It's just you're in this like derelict space station, and you're just running around Metroid style.
Yeah.
Shooting aliens, climbing through air ducts, picking up grenades and flamethrowers, and trying to figure out what weapon or what tool you need to pick up to break through different types of doors. It's just really good. My only complaint with it is there's a lot of dialogue boxes. They kind of thin out after the first hour or so, but it's a lot of just like your Marines talking back and forth. In you play a team of Marines, 4 different Marines that you switch between. And they've got different stuff. And you go to this little room and you can pick them like the Ninja Turtles in NES Ninja Turtles.
Nice.
And other than that, it's just you flamethrowing aliens and jumping around. It's just really fun. It's some really good Aliens Metroidvania game. And it came out and like fucking nobody noticed. And it was really good because when you look at it, you're like, oh, this looks like some fucking shit that was like ported from mobile phone to DS, which is what a lot of games were. It's what Orcs and Elves was. It was a mobile phone game ported to the DS.
Right.
But it got good reviews. It's crazy expensive now. It's like $100 for the damn game. But it's just a super duper fun, good game to emulate. It does have a little bit of touchscreen stuff, but it's mostly just like selecting equipment. So it's not really a big deal. I was doing it with my thumb on my Steam Deck because I own the game, but I played it on my Steam Deck.
Yeah.
It's just real fun. It's a really good action-y aliens game, which there's just not enough of. And I feel like it came out and everyone just sort of ignored that it happened.
Well, didn't Gearbox also make that other Aliens game with Sega?
I think so. There have been...
Colonial Marines, I think.
Whichever one it was.
Yeah.
Colonial Marines. I just looked it up.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe there was just so much hype for that one that people were upset that this wasn't that yet.
Yeah, and Colonial Marines, wasn't that the one that was an absolute fucking shit show and it came out and just okay. Yeah, so maybe it just maybe that's what happened because Colonial Marines came out 2013 and this game was what was it, 2011? So it would have been in development. Right. So maybe it just got overshadowed and then shit all over.
It's not like Randy Pitchford has ever hyped something up only for it to be a giant pile of shit when it released.
Yeah, well, giant piles of shit usually begat giant piles of shit. So that's just kind of how it works. But Aliens Infestation is good. It's really good, and you should play it.
And also, you mentioned that it's expensive. One thing I do want to say, for all the games on this list, DS games, even if they're expensive, flash carts aren't. Flash carts are very cheap on the DS. So if you want to play it on the original hardware, you have options available.
Mm-hmm. So, what's your next one?
I'm going to go with Bangai-O.
Oh, man.
Specifically Bangai-O Spirits, which is the one that is on DS.
Yes. So I before you talk about it, I don't want to talk about it. I had never even heard of Bangai-O.
Oh, man.
I picked it up for like, I think $5. Bear Cart. It's one of my only DS games that's just Bear Cart. And had no fucking idea what it was. And I sat down and I was like, this can't be the whole game. Is this the whole game? And then an hour later, I was like, this is the whole game, and it's great.
Yeah.
So tell us about Bangai-O Spirits, Satter.
Yeah, so it is a sequel to Treasure's... I knew it as a Dreamcast game, but in Japan, it was originally an N64 game. It's the Bullet Hell shooter. And it was one of the first games that I had played that I had seen described as Bullet Hell. I had played Radiant on somebody else's Saturn, and I knew that was technically Bullet Hell, but Bangai-O really takes it to another level. There's a ludicrous amount of bullets. It would cause the Dreamcast to slow down a lot.
Yeah. Well, I feel weird even calling it a Bullet Hell game because that implies that it's a shmup, and it's not.
No, it's not. It's an exploration game just with a shitload of bullets everywhere.
I'd never thought about it until just now, but I can see a direct lineage from Bang.io to Vampire Survivors.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which sounds weird, but it's there. It's this like absolutely ridiculous, over the top, you're breaking the game, but that's the point of the game kind of thing. Bang.io is a hard game to explain.
Oh, yeah. And the coolest part, like on the Dreamcast, it was a great game. I love Bang.io. But on this one, you can make your own stages and then save them as audio data that you can like record on a cassette tape or something, and then play back to your friend's DS so that they can play your stage. And that's the craziest shit I have ever said out loud on this show.
Bang.io Spirits is fantastic. It's weird. It's arcadey. It's super duper fun.
Oh yeah.
I cannot recommend that one enough.
Yeah, it's just a really fun time.
My final one is Lunar Nights. And Lunar Nights was published by Kojima, or published by Konami, but developed by Kojima Productions.
Right. It's a kind of a semi-sequel to Boktai.
It is roughly considered the fourth Boktai game, although it's not, I believe, a story sequel. I didn't play the Boktai games, so I don't know. But it is considered the fourth one.
Right.
In Lunar Nights, I had no fucking idea what it was, but it came out, and I was riding high off Metal Gear Solid 3, and I saw that little fox on the cover, and I was like, I know that fox. That's Metal Gear Solid 3. I'm going to pick up this weird anime game. And boy, is it a weird anime game. It is an isometric, third-person, top-down action game in which you control two characters. One is powered by the moon and uses a sword, and the other one is powered by the sun and uses a gun. And I think if you plug in a Boktai cartridge while playing Lunar Nights, it will make use of the photo sensor.
Yeah.
But it's not necessary to play the game. Right. And it's just a really good, relatively robust third-person action game with some really cool elements that came out and was really solid. And I know that sounds weird, but on the DS, there was a distinct lack of just solid third-person action titles.
Yeah.
Even the two Zeldas were not regular Zeldas. They were controlled by the touchscreen.
Right.
And
which sucks.
After being disappointed by Zelda, and there, what was the Mana game on DS?
Children of Mana, I think.
Whichever one it was, that sucked too.
Yeah, I did.
And I was like, man, I just want like a good hack and slash kind of third person top down action game. That's all I want. And Lunar Nights delivers that in spades. It's also kind of like sci-fi-y, which is neat to see. It's very anime. It's got a bunch of dialogue and cutscenes and stuff and wacky characters. It's just a really fun, indulgent, enjoyable, functional third-person action game that I feel nobody ever talks about, Yeah. I feel like it just got kind of forgotten entirely.
I happened to see somebody discussing Kojima the other day, and they had they were specifically talking about PT, and one of the people hadn't played it before, and he said, "Well, where on the Kojima batshit crazy line does it fall? If a 0 is Boktai and a 10 is Snatcher, where does it fall on the list?" And where does Lunar Nights fall on that list?
Oh man, probably closer to the Boktai end.
Okay. Right,
it's wacky, but it's wacky in a kind of reliable, goofy anime way. There's lots of big robots and bosses and explosions and space stuff. And Kojima is not listed in the credits at all.
Weird.
He had
a pretty big team by that point.
Right. But he's not. I don't see him on there. So I don't think he really had much anything to do with it other than it being his company.
Maybe that's why it's so good.
But yeah, it's great. It's just a solid third-person action game with, if you don't mind a little bit of anime tropes, then you're good. I do know that at the end of the game, it turns into a touchscreen shmup kind of out of nowhere. So that's a thing that happens. It does do some of the DS Touch stuff. There's some microphone interactions, some dual screen stuff. It does make use of the DS, but it's solid. I really liked Lunar Nights. It came out and then just went and was forgotten, and nobody seemed to give a shit.
Yeah, honestly, that kind of happened with all the Boktai games. It felt like they were briefly hyped when they released and then just kind of faded away.
I feel like the first one came out and people were like, this is an awesome idea. And then they realized they had to play a GBA in the sunlight.
Right.
I don't know if you've ever tried to play GBA in the sunlight, but on the original GBA, it's the only way to play GBA. And on the later GBAs, it's the worst way to play GBA.
Yes.
So I don't just,
Right.
fuck, man. Just give me a break.
Right.
Anyway, what's your final one?
I don't know how well this one counts or not, but I'm going to use it anyway. Front Mission was re-released on the DS in 2007.
Oh.
And it is a port of the Super NES game that is better than the Super NES game in every way. Also, it's the first version that came out in a language that's not Japanese.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you've not played Front Mission before, it's like Tactics Ogre with giant mechs.
Yes.
And
I'm down for this.
Yes. You aim at all the different body parts in order to disable the enemy mech's leg or arm or whatever. It's great. It's a good time. It's got a good soundtrack. I'm always a fan of Front Mission, and this is an excellent port of the first game that Tosei put out. And there is the Switch version now, which I hear retains all of the changes from this version, but I haven't gotten my copy for Switch yet because it takes forever to print physical games, apparently. Mm-hmm. So for now, I have to stick with the DS version, and it's still very solid. So if you've not played Front Mission yet and you want to play a strategy RPG with giant mechs, that is the one you should play.
I haven't yet, and I do want to do that.
Yes. Any of the Front Mission games are great except for that one that was on PS3 and 360. Do not play that. That's not a game.
Let's talk honorable mentions. Mm-hmm. And I have a couple of different categories here. My first one is notable franchises that had less popular, at least compared to their console counterparts, DS versions. And some of these are spin-offs, some of these are mainline entries, but I just feel like a lot of people forget that the DS was not just Nintendogs and Brain Age and fucking shovelware.
Right.
SimCity DS, which is great.
I did not like SimCity DS.
I like SimCity DS.
I tried it.
Like that one.
Did not care for it.
There was another SimCity on DS, but it had some weird subtitle. It wasn't just regular SimCity.
I didn't try that one.
Harvest Moon DS is really good. Okay. It's a good Harvest Moon. I like it a lot. This is the game that bumped us up to 100 on the VG charts because this is the 109th best selling going by VG charts, which is Grand Theft Auto Chinatown Wars. It feels weird talking about a Grand Theft Auto game on a Hidden Gems episode, but the DS version was way less popular than the PSP version. And the DS version is still fucking great and runs great and does actually have touchscreen moments that are pretty nice. Final Fantasy XII Revenant Wings. Everyone forgot about this. Also Blue Dragon Plus. These are both tactics games.
Yeah.
Based on their bigger franchises. They're released on the DS. They're tactics versions of Final Fantasy XII and Blue Dragon that came out on DS.
And I believe Revenant Wings takes place after the events in Final Fantasy XII as well.
Yeah, story-wise, I want to say they're both after. I think Blue Dragon... Well, I'm not sure on Blue Dragon. Either way, they got tactics games on the DS. Contra 4... I wanted to put on my Hidden Gems list, but I didn't because it's fucking Contra. But it's the next mainline Contra after Contra 3, and it is great.
Yeah.
It is a great game.
I never got around to it. I kept meaning to pick it up, and I never did, so I'm glad to hear that it's not a bad game. I was always worried that it would be meh.
No, it's fantastic. Other mainline entry in a similar game, Metal Slug 7, the 7th Metal Slug game, is only on DS.
Yeah.
It exists nowhere else. It's not a great Metal Slug, but it exists nowhere else. Disgaea got a port on DS, which is really solid. Valkyrie Profile, Covenant of the Plume, there's a Valkyrie Profile on DS.
Also a Suikoden on DS.
The third MechAssault game is on DS. MechAssault Phantom War. It's not really the third one. It's a spin-off, but there's a MechAssault game on DS. I really wanted to put Radiant Historia on my list, but it got a 3DS remake, so I feel like it kind of got, more attention later on.
Suikoden Tierkris is the Suikoden
Yes.
that's on DS, and it is DS exclusive, and it's not
Yes.
been re-released anywhere else.
Is that one a tactics game too?
I never got around to playing it. I have it, and I didn't bother to play it. It looks like it is a traditional JRPG.
Okay.
So no.
Okay.
I
also wanna talk about-
start that one.
I also want to talk about stuff that was popular at the time on DS, but I don't see it mentioned anywhere else.
Like
These
Meteos?
Meteos is at the bottom of my list. Meteos came
I
out.
do see it there. Never mind.
Meteos came out, and it was a big fucking deal.
I remember someone referred to it as the Tetris of the Nintendo DS era when it came out.
There's Tetris DS, Saturn.
Shh. This was years before Tetris DS came out.
This was Tetsuya Mizuguchi. This was Q Entertainment. Meteos was fucking great.
It wasn't just Mitsuguchi because Masahiro Sakurai was also involved.
Yeah, Sakurai was on it, and you know that when you boot the game up because it has the Smash Brothers fucking menu.
He can't make a game without using that same menu.
No,
It's
he
weird.
cannot. Moon was a game that came out, and it was a first-person like survival horror shooter on DS, and everyone lost their minds because they're like, "Oh my god, it's like a real game on the DS."
I don't remember that at all.
Feel the Magic XYXX came out.
Yeah, that
it
one
was
I remember.
a rhythm game on DS. Everyone had Feel the Magic.
Yep.
Elite Beat Agents was another big
Yep.
rhythm game on DS that was really popular when it came out.
Wasn't Rub Rabbits a sequel to Feel the Magic?
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
It was a sequel to it. Contact. This was a game that was hyped all to shit because it kind of looked a little Earthboundy visually. And everyone lost their goddamn minds. And then it came out and they're like,
I do
it's...
remember that.
Yep. And then it came out and they were like, oh, it's not awesome.
Yeah.
But it was a lot of hype around that game.
Yeah.
A whole lot of hype around that game. Also, what was that? Ping Pals.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, this is not a game. This is just software. But the DS, for people that don't know, included PictoChat.
Right.
And PictoChat was a fucking thing. 'Cause I was in high school when the DS was out.
Oh.
So we used PictoChat to talk to each other. And my friends would come over to my house and we would sit in my living room all in PictoChat, just drawing dicks at each other.
Yeah. I remember one night, a couple years after the DS came out, I was at an IHOP at 3 a.m. with some friends. And we all ended up being at different tables because we were a giant group of people that night. And a few of us had our DSs and we were just drawing dicks at each other.
Or you do the thing where you scribble it all in black and then you write your message by erasing.
Yeah.
And there was a piece of software called Ping Pals. And it was like a souped up PictoChat.
Oh.
And so everyone wanted to have Ping Pals to have the good PictoChat.
I didn't know anyone that had that.
Oh man, Ping Pals. It was a thing. It was a thing, Saturn.
Yeah, I see.
But my point is that the DS had some awesome games. It had a lot of entries from really notable franchises. I still consider the DS version of Chrono Trigger to be my favorite version that I've played. Now, granted, I haven't played the Steam version, and I hear it's very good now.
Yes.
But Chrono Trigger was great. Final Fantasy III was great. There's a lot of really good shit on DS that kind of got swept under the rug of Brain Age and Nintendogs and stuff.
There was like 6 Dragon Quest games released in the US on DS.
Yes, there were. Oh, I you know what? Neither one of us put on our list, and I thought of this the other day, and I forgot to write it down. Because to you and me, it's a big DS game.
Right.
But neither one of us put Rocket Slime on our list.
It's true. Rocket Slime is fantastic.
Rocket Slime is phenomenal.
I would also
such a good game.
I don't think it fits on this list just because I don't personally see it as a hidden gem, though others might. The Dragon Quest Monsters games are just excellent on DS. Both of them that were released in English on the DS.
Those Joker 1 and 2, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and all the Dragon Quest games sold pretty well. I think a lot of them break the 100 rule that we had.
Good.
I don't think Rocket Slime does.
How dare
and
they?
So it fits on the list. Go play Rocket Slime.
Because it's fantastic.
Oh, man, it's amazing.
And then when you're done, play the translation of the sequel on 3DS.
I still haven't done that.
And then go play the translation of the first game on GBA.
So, as far as final thoughts, the DS had a huge amount of really good games. I think a lot of it got swept under that shovelware rug because, it was this era where the DS was all about the touchscreen, and even Nintendo was really pushing that. I mean, they were releasing Zelda games that were fully touch screen driven. Nintendogs was fucking massive. Licensed shovelware garbage was huge. But there was a lot of really awesome games and a lot of really major franchises that had releases on DS that just kind of sort of get forgotten about, even though a lot of them are really good.
Yeah, well, it's because the marketing went so hard into stuff like Brain Age and Nintendogs that a lot of people missed out on a lot of the better stuff on the system.
Yeah, I feel like the DS gets, I don't want to say it gets a bad rap. I think a lot of people have decent memories of the DS, but I think I think a lot of times it gets treated kind of like the N64, where people are like, yeah, there's about a dozen good DS games. And you're like, no. It's not actually like the N64 where there's only like a dozen good games.
I hear it compared to the Wii more often, where there's some really solid titles, but some of them are held back by awkward gimmicks like the touchscreen.
Yeah, by touchscreen, by limitations,
and also
technology.
The library is buried under shovelware, much like the Wii.
But there's so much good DS stuff that people didn't play, and you need to, because it's great. Also, a lot of the games I mentioned are very expensive. Please don't pay crazy prices. Get the flash cart.
Flash cart, yeah,
you'll be good.
Play it that way,
or just emulate it on something.
That's true, yeah.
I think of the games I listed, the only one that really you do need to play stacked top and bottom touch screen on below the main screen is Contra 4. Because Contra 4 does span the entire both screens, and it's very vertically oriented. Right. So Contra 4 is the only game I mentioned today that would not really work like that. You'd have to. I mean, you could. I have a portrait mode monitor that I keep at my desk. You can just emulate it there, and it runs great. It's fantastic. Anyway, that's the DS. Go play DS games because there's lots of good shit.
Yes.
And nobody ever wants to talk about the MechAssault Phantom Wars of the world. Actually, I think that game sucked. I don't really remember. But I think it sucked real bad. But, go play Monster Tale. For the love of God, go play it. It's a fantastic
I'm
game.
actually acquiring that right now.
Oh, there you go. Legally, right?
Yes, totally legally acquiring it. Just let Majesco know I'm going to send them a check.
If you'd like to hear about more of our legal acquisitions, then you can go to our Patreon at patreon.com/Retro Warriors, where we talk about all sorts of stuff that we legally acquire on the internet. It's so good.
Do we? Is that what we talk about?
I don't know. But it's a segue and it counts. It would mean a lot to us personally at a deep, personal, philosophical level if you would rate and review the show. We had a very nice person leave a very nice long Reddit post on our subreddit today. It was so nice. And they were just like, man, you guys are great. And I like listening to the show. And that makes us feel good.
Right.
And we enjoy it.
Yeah, and that doesn't even help us in an algorithm anywhere. It's just, it makes us feel good.
It's just there. It made my day. I got to feel good for a while, and that's why we do it.
And then you remembered about the rest of your life.
Yep. Jesus Christ. Oh, no. It's my droopy dog.
It was a pretty good one. That was pretty good droopy.
We want to thank the following patrons for putting up with us, starting with Intergalactic Mayo Force, here to deliver your load of mayo.
I like the comma after load so that you could have paused and said, deliver your load.
So that you know.
Mayo. Anyway, Casey McGinty.
Mike Rotondo.
Norman.
Zero Scroll Fernando Benavides.
Chris Minochi.
Chuck Angeline.
Dave Nelson.
Matt Kovacs.
And Jerry Voz
are all the patrons we want to thank for the money they've given us. We appreciate the money, and we are spending it unwisely, as is the tradition of all crowdsourcing payment type platforms. We're gonna go buy copies of Nintendo Power for $108,000, and then we're gonna invest in them. I don't know what that means, but we're gonna invest them into something.
We're gonna turn them into a coin of some sort.
Yeah, we're gonna make Nintendo Power coins, and we won't get sued at all.
We'll call them Nestor coins.
I like this. I want a Nestor coin.
No, you don't.
I want it more than I want an Atari coin. I can say that
saying much.
Definitively. Anyway, thank you so much for listening. We'll be back next week, and as always, let us cling together.